J.K. Rowling. She's gotten plenty of time in my house. My daughter loves her. The movies come around, and my daughter was actually doing a report on her. And I kind of had to pay attention because the strokes of this woman's might were epic. So, in case you don't know the story, may I fill you in? J.K. Rowling's loved making up fantastical lands and stories ever since she was a little tiny girl. But coupled with this desire to do so came a rigid, deep insecurity. So it turns out that she told nobody about her desire to be a writer. Even though she was writing short stories in high school, even though she was gathering kids around the lunchroom table to tell them stories of these fantastical lands she was making up and everybody loved it, her guidance counselor didn't know she wanted to be a writer, her parents didn't know she wanted to be a writer, so they had a suggested plan for her. If you don't have a plan for your life, someone will definitely give you one, and that was you should go to college and learn to be a bilingual secretary. So off she goes to college, taking only one thing, a box full of her secret writings, and in college she continues secretly writing, but doesn't tell anybody, so when she graduates, she becomes, hey, a bilingual secretary. Problem is, she hates the job. It has nothing to do with who she truly is, so she sucks at it. And she bombs out of job after job after job. Hey, I'm going to compact the story a little bit here and tell you shortly thereafter, she ends up at rock bottom in her life. She's living in a foreign country, she's teaching English as a second language, and she's pregnant without a boyfriend or a husband. And she has that child. And all she's got left at this point is this dream of writing in this little tiny story idea of a wizard. You know, a boy who's a wizard. Her sister, in feeling really bad for her, says, you must come live near us, but the entire family is so poor that they can't even afford to put J.K. Rowling's up in their own apartment. It's too small. And they can't even afford to get her a decent apartment. So what they do is just gather up just enough money to put her in a rat hole, to put her in a place without heat and without windows. That's where J.K. Rowling's with her child lives. Now J.K. Rowling's does something that is very mighty. She's looking at a future where she's going to have to just completely sell out in order to be a responsible parent and give up this ridiculous dream she has of writing. But before she sells out, she decides to unleash her might. Give herself 1 year to unleash her might. To see if she can't write one novel about this little boy, the wizard. But to do it, I'll never forget this. In order to do it, what she had to do is get out of that rat hole with no windows and no heat because she couldn't write a good story in those conditions. She'd go outside, she'd have the baby carriage in her hand, as she tells it, right? And she'd have to walk around the block until her child fell asleep. Then she'd pull into the coffee shop, and she had basically zero money, just a couple coins to rub together. She'd take that 50 cents, she'd buy 1 cup of coffee just to justify that she was going to sit in that coffee house to write, and she'd have to keep rocking the stroller with one hand while she was pecking away with the other hand on a borrowed piece of crap typewriter, on a typewriter. No computer there. And J.K. Rowling's, with all her might, wrote that first novel in under the most difficult, tenuous circumstances ever. That, my friends, is might. Now, we all know the rest of the story, Maybe you don't know all the initial rejections that came in and the enormous crap load of insecurity that she had to get off of her chest and push out from underneath just to send her manuscript into somebody. But I think the most essential part of the story is that she had to unleash her own might, no matter what it took. Rubbing 2 quarters together and rocking a baby and giving herself 1 year to really go for it. J.K. Rowling's, thank you for being mighty. Thank you for giving your gift, and thank you for being a wonderful example of Might Club Rule number 8. Unleash your might.